Hello guys and welcome to TFT Worlds, Day 2, Game number 1. Enjoy.
We've seen early on you get the defensive something like a Warmog Gargoyle Stoneplate, and that can allow you to win streak really hard while keeping you pretty flexible to what your options are. So Belt start is definitely one of my favorite starts.
All right, hopping on board with Dobbs here. Now, Dobbs yesterday actually played 2 duelist boards, and duelists so far seem to be incredibly consistent. Not necessarily what you're looking for when you want to go for those first places, but to get you into those top 4, they're looking to be one of the most consistent comps due to the lack of being contested.
Yeah, I actually heard of the legendary duelist composition that has a 0% first place ratio in the entire course of tournament, but they do have a very fairly high top 4 ratio, which makes the composition very fair and very well balanced, wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, duelist especially has such aggression early. You hit that 6 duelist very early at level 6, and that attack speed can overwhelm opponents really hard. The problem is it's a lot of low-cost units, and so when you get to like, trying to go level 7, level 8, we've seen it be a very 4-cost meta, and it starts to fall off unless you high roll something crazy like the Vayne 3. So it really requires a lot to go right to get a first place. But again, now that we're in day 2 and these points are starting to stabilize, trying to get enough points to just move on, that might be something that some of our players like Flancy, who are at the top, maybe can lean into.
Yeah, hopefully we are seeing an admin coming out of AHOI right from the get-go on the left side from our observers. It's going to be extra maximum health as hero augments roll around. It feels like a repeat of yesterday. Once more, we're getting those 2 cost, 1 cost.
Now the question is, how many players are here willing to force Undergrounds? Now, Undergrounds actually, as of yesterday's stats, has the highest first place ratio, and Israel 3-star into a completed 3-star quick draw composition is just so powerful. So how many players are willing to gamble for that first place placement, or will they just go for a safe choice?
Yeah, like you said, Underground's been a popular one. The other thing with it being 2-1-1, and we saw a lot of Hyperbolic Time Chamber, using that to fast level, we saw a lot of success here. But looking around at the picks, we see a Vi, we see a Yasuo, we see some Renekton. So this might be one that leans more into the reroll version. We saw yesterday here, this is the Unrelenting Force Vi that ended up getting Flancy to a first place. And if you can get this Vi going with really good items, you've got that 3 Underground. This is a really strong start.
Wait, I don't understand. Why does this guy have 25 gold with 3 Undergrounds?
So looking at his drops, it looks like he had. It looks like he had a low item drop rate here. So yeah, this is a good start. But I've seen a lot of players flub this if they don't preserve enough health. We saw yesterday that the key to Flancy's success was staying at 93 health all the way into stage 3, stage 4. This version, we see people end up taking a bit too hard of a risk, and we might see him as low as like 68 health by the time we reach those Krugs.
Actually, I feel like it's not really that fair, though, because I realized that if you start with a gold start, you get all your items back at stage 2-7, so you're not really that weak during the mid-game either as well, too. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how it goes for our players. We know that some of them really prefer having a strong econ early on, and we also seeing all of the augments come in. Notably one, baby, I know you hate Hold the Line being picked up here by Flancy. I'm sure you have something to say about that, but we are seeing some other commits as well. Laser Focus being picked up by AHOI is going to be one to look out for, and the Spirit of the Exile for Jazz Latte also seems to signal strong direction, as well as that Hextech Retribution.
Completely irrelevant to that. I think this is the reason why NA is looking strong at Worlds. Yes, just saying.
The Hold the Line?
I didn't say no nothing.
Yeah, looking at the choices, it was an interesting mix of reroll and, leveling. Like, we saw the Yasuo augment get taken, the support one, that's going to allow the team to get attack speed. And that's a really good one to level up into Laser Core. That's been pretty good. But on the other side, we saw, like, time and a half with that Sivir, which people traditionally try to reroll, find that 3-star Sivir, pumping out, 7, 8 gold a turn. So a lot of different options here. And looking at Flancy's board, who has that Rel carry augment, which, again, we saw would be really good with something like Kaisa back in the day, but now isn't quite that S-tier composition that we've seen back in like 13.8.
And if you look at the detail of how these Chinese players play, they were actually holding 3 Underground units, Kayle, Vi, and Israel on the inventory. These players are just addicted to Undergrounds because they know that Mortok designed to be fun. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's not only fun, it's also very strong, right? Especially in those situations like we saw from Clancy yesterday, getting the undergrounds and the wins. You're going to have a fantastic time, no worries at all. Get to that heist 5 and just stomp the entire lobby by pure pressure. So if that's your go-to, if you can find that angle, great.
Yeah, it's interesting because, again, with the tournament setting, we have to start thinking about where you are in the point structure, right? And something like Underground can be really good. We've seen it get a lot of first place, so that's definitely true. But you just want to make sure you don't bleed out too much health here. And moving into the carousel, we do see the 2-item carousel. We do have a spatula in there, which could open up some options. I see a nice Warmogs there, so a lot of different choices here. And looking on the side, we can see sort of the item slams. A lot of people have a tier open, and having being another tier carousel, that's going to lead to a lot of blue buff options, and yeah.
Yeah, that's actually a really strong notification right there from Mortdog. There are a lot of people that have tiers on the right side, and there's 4 tier options at the carousel. It almost makes you think that maybe the carousel gives one specific item more than others, when it should be maybe a bit more balanced so players can enjoy the experience.
So just in case you were wondering, BB does not like to tier. Just in case that wasn't immensely clear to anyone.
There.
There, baby. There.
All right, looking at this admin board, we have a heart start. Kind of a rough mix of items here. Did take the spatula here, which could open up that heart emblem. We don't see heart emblem be that popular, especially with heart. The problem is it takes up that tier. And with heart, you want those casts to be coming pretty quickly. So often that can lead to something like a Shojin or a blue buff. So kind of an interesting spot here. And Dobbs has kind of been struggling throughout this tournament here. So this is sort of those early game positions that he hasn't been doing that great in.
I mean, I was looking at this composition, and at first I saw spatula into crit and Camille into a renegade composition, or maybe a spatula into chainmail into an off-swords like a frontline, but he actually just makes the hand of justice. He didn't even consider the heart spat, as you said, which is kind of like a funny in my opinion. I feel like the best way to go for is to go for Riftwalker Jin, go for the renegade spat, get that 7 juicy renegades online and build that composition. So I do wonder what Dobbs has prepared for us so far in this tournament.
Yeah, Dobbs does manage to shut down Flancy's win streak there. We saw a jeweled gauntlet slam on a Vayne, clearly acting as an item holder here. But yeah, we get a look at the health total here, and like I mentioned, 72 already. Probably going to lose this round going below 68. So this is where you only end up getting to like Heist 2, Heist 3, and you really want to hit that Heist 4 where it becomes that guaranteed first place. And again, we compare that to yesterday's game where Flancy was able to hit that Heist 5. So this doesn't feel as strong of a position as we saw Unrelenting Force yesterday.
I'm looking at SVM's like a board at the moment, and if you look very carefully, they're very random, right?
YBY1, because SVM is clan tag. Just letting you know.
I was testing you. Yes.
Yeah,
I was testing chat right now. It's YBY1, and don't you forget it, guys. Yeah.
Exactly. I hope you all passed that test and wrote that down. But yeah, he's been streaking 100 HP in the lead here as we move towards the crux, and it's looking like he's going to continue that streak with 30 gold. Very good position.
Yeah, this is what I was talking about, right? You have the Gargoyle Stoneplate Redemption with that Blitzcrank with the carry augment. That is such a good front line, and there's just not enough damage to deal with that early. Also got the Jinx too, which is giving him that backline damage. And so even though his trait structure isn't that good, he's just winning through sheer power of, really good units. 30 gold, level 5, full win streaking, has a bunch of 2-stars. This is a great spot to then convert into basically any composition you want. These items haven't locked you in at all, and so this is the kind of spot you really want to be in going into stage 3.
I feel like this is what it means to be a very flexible player. He's not looking towards specific options, but looking for a more diverse like a ways. But honestly, you just found a lot of upgrades early, right?
I mean, that's kind of part of the game. But looking at YBY1's playstyle coming in, we expected him to play very safe, play like more the generic comps like Riftwalker, Oxlingers, not so much go for the rerolls. And in yesterday's results, it was actually the other way around. We got a lot of creative comps out of him, and we'll see hopefully that trend continue. I mean, this not looking like a reroll game so much, but definitely looking like the more creative, more open approach to the game is absolutely there.
Yeah, so looking at this board here, we see the level 4, and we've seen this a bunch throughout the tournament, right? You have that Ash carry, augment, you're doing your roll down here, only has 4 Ashes though, and so it becomes a question of how deep are you willing to go, how much of your economy are you willing to burn to try to get that Ash 3, and when you've only got 4 Ashes, the further down you go, this gets really dangerous before you burn your economy. Instead, chooses to level up, now has that Sivir 2, so we have a lot of strong units here, but we're very far away from that Ash 3 win condition.
Okay, so there was a lot of decision-making process in this like a game right now. Right now, Ahoy wanted to go for an Ash restart, so he put the threshold of 30 gold. He rolled down 30 gold. He realized, oh wait, I don't have enough Ashes, I don't have enough Blitzcranks, I don't have enough Renktons. A 3-star composition will not be possible. So he gave up on that instantly, and now is going to transition away from a reroll deck into a 4-cost 2-star value transition.
Yeah, and about that board in particular, the Laser Core, we are seeing a bunch of them as gold augments come through, but the most that actually do well don't use Warwick as main carry and instead use some things like Belveth.
Yeah, I think that's definitely an option here with those AD items. It does feel bad to sort of have your carry augment end up wasted, but even an Ash 2 can pump out a lot of damage if you hit something like a Laser Core Emblem, you know, on your 4-2 augment, get that going. So there's definitely a lot of options. I think he's still level 5 with 40 gold, so he has the option to kind of play it easy for a stage or two, see if any more Ashes pop up. If they do, he can still keep going on that, and if not, he can do what Bebe was suggesting and can convert to a higher level comp.
He did pick up featherweights, so I think he's hoping on the Ashes to still come around for himself as players are going through. We're going to see a Spirit Visage on the side of Flancy being picked up by the Forge.
So currently we're looking at Rel 2-star with a Visage, so he does want to make a hold the line Rel that will not die, but the problem here is the Sunfires. Sunfires is not an endgame carry composition because it's very squishy. It's not a tank itemization, it's damage itemization. So even if he were to get the Rel 3-star online, it will not be as tanky as like it's supposed to be. But I have a question for Mortdog. Was Sunfire supposed to be so squishy and more damage oriented? How was it supposed to be made?
Yeah, Sunfire is definitely a trade-off item, right? You're trading some offense for some defense for offense, right? And so you get that anti-heal, you get that, you know, true damage burn, which is great, but you sacrifice being tankier. And so I've actually become like, I'm not a fan of Sunfire lately. I think it's something you slam in the early game to apply pressure, but like you mentioned, you're just not going to be as tanky in the late game. And so, you know, that is a sacrifice you're making. But we are seeing across the board there being a preference for that Sunfire. And again, this has been sort of a high-pressure tournament. You know, we get a look at this board. This is 41 health. We are definitely seeing a more pressure-filled lobby.
Okay, you guys heard that? Mortdog hates Sunfire's cave. Mortdog hates
Okay,
them.
what else do we have?
Anything.
We hate the tears, we hate the Sunfires. Anything else you guys need to get out of your system? I'm sure chat like hates Lulu. I cannot see chat right now, but I assume that's something that's being said. I do want to talk about something else from the augments here, though, because as they popped up, we did see that Kade is also on the featherweights. Now, Kade didn't have the strongest day one, but it got tremendously better towards the end of the day, and that's always what we're looking for, right? If you finish strong, it's going to be great for your mental, so hopefully he can get back to that height after a first and a top 4 placing in the last 2 games. And I'm a little bit curious what we're running on, because if I'm not mistaken, he's on time and a half and featherweights, so it should be infinitum leaning, which is not generally what we've seen a lot from Kade.
Yeah, I think with that particular augment, if you've got the Sivir and you can get that Sivir 3, that's going to allow you, the featherweights is going to give you the attack speed you need, and so that's going to allow you to go the Deathblade, Infinity Edge, Last Whisper, stuff like that, allowing that Sivir to actually do a ton of damage, and then because you'll be getting that 7 or 8 gold a turn, you can then catch back up and reach level 7, level 8, maybe find an Infiniteam emblem on 4-2 augment, which will allow you to get like that Garen. So it definitely can be one of those compositions that does well, and yeah, we see Dobbs getting a second spatula there, so that's going to allow him to get that Tactician's Crown, which is always a nice boost, but it does mean you are an item down. You've traded those 2 spatulas for, you know, that Tactician's Crown, so will that be enough to propel Dobbs? We'll have to see.
So Kaide's currently going for his key compositions, Infiniteams. Infiniteams is the second highest first place win ratio like a composition term at the moment. It's built just like this. You go for a time and a half on Severe, you look for Severe 3-star 3-star at level 6. You build up with Rama's 2-star as your front line, and after you hit Severe 3, you'll get like plus 6-7 gold per round. Use that snowball to level 9 and achieve a very sweet, juicy victory.
One of the cool things about this comp too is you notice the Sivir clone from Infinity actually rolled the last Whisper. Wow. This allows you to build full damage, right? This is the Death Blade, the Hurricane. The Hurricane especially doing that extra 80 damage to non-primary targets, so you're not getting necessarily just stuck on this Blitzcrank, and so really cool option there, and that's one of the things that allows Sivir to do well. But on the other side, we do see a level 7 comp that was just too strong here, has that Ascension that is already procced by now, Laser Core doing very well, and so applying a lot of aggression, and it's just not quite enough here.
Yeah, hopping back to Jipok, though, he keeps falling. 34 HP by now, finds a Vi 2 as an upgrade. We spoke about this comp yesterday with the Unrelenting Force. You want to have that Vi 3, you want to have that Ezreal 3, but they seem to be hard to come by here.
As a Korean, I can say, Jipok got first. It's gonna be easy. He's been staying at 50 gold for the entire game. Ever since stage 2-5, he's been at 50 gold, and he's also managed to find a trade sector. So everything will become 3-star. He will be able to level 9, add 4 quick draws, add in parallels with 5 gods Israel, and it's gonna be one-sided.
He is going to find Heist 3 right after this round, but probably not going to be picking it up. I mean, he has dropped quite a lot in health already, but usually we see players looking for that Heist 4 ideally.
See, I feel like at 34 health, Heist 3 is going to be the thing he'll take. It'll be on the PvE round also, which will give him time to transition. So I feel like this is one of those cases, I mean, 20 health here. I feel like you're taking this for sure, no matter what. And so he does get, you know, an animal message here.
One more, Jipok, one more.
Way.
No, do not be scared. Yo, keep it.
Okay.
No.
Okay. There's no way. No way. Does get the Spirit Visage, which is not bad for the Vi here. The Collector, not really great for what he's running. But again, now it's going to be a question of can he convert this? Because that was not the big boost he was looking for. Again, we talk about Underground. Like you said, you want to hit that Heist 4, Heist 5. This is not it. This is the exact opposite of the Flancy version we saw yesterday. Does have a Death Blade here, so there is an option if like he were to hit a Samira, maybe transition. But it's just going to be really hard here at level 6, and he needs to find those extra Vi's.
All right, here you sell the 3 costs first. Stuff like Kaisa is not necessary at the moment. Make sure to focus on the 1 and 2 costs, mostly the 2 costs.
And Ezreal in the same shop.
He can sell the Gangplank too if he needs bench space, because right now level 6 rerolls is for that juicy 40% on the 2 cost units.
One more Ezreal.
One more on Vi, one more Ezreal. Both at once, holding hands. Let's go.
Yeah, and so that's going to give him a big boost here. But again, compared to some of the caps we've seen this board have before, this feels like it'll get him through stage 4 maybe, and then fall off here. This is not as big. He's got that Collector sitting on the bench. Does slam the Gunblade, but this is Ezreal without the carry augment or anything like that. The Vi's going to do a lot of work, but again, really lacking the armor and MR here. So I don't know. I'm not looking at this going, this is a first place board.
I mean, the good thing is that we're still at 50 gold interest. That's a good thing.
Yeah, it definitely is a good thing, but we'll see what the augments bring, right? They're going to roll around in a couple of seconds, and that could be very good, or it could be kind of okay. So we'll see what Jipok is being offered here. Did find the win, is going to find golden augments.
First aid kit. First aid kit with Visage. Not bad.
That's not bad. That's not bad, especially with the Gunblade as well. So I like the first aid kit option. I was going to joke take Portable Forge and get a second Collector.
Do not sabotage Korea.
Don't say it. He re-rolled.
Interesting. Reroll here. Ancient Archives isn't going to be great. I think Battle Mage is pretty rough. Big Friend is decent, but it causes you to sacrifice your positioning a little bit. Because I do like the extra damage reduction on the Vi 3. That'll allow that to be really good. But again, that sacrificing the positioning is going to be the tough part there.
I mean, I really love when I pick Big Friend and my entire team gets Janna ulted into Nurgle ult, into Mordekaiser ult, into
Yeah, I also like CC. We are seeing 2 of the players picking up that laser core card, though. So Ahau I has it, and I think YBI1 also has it, meaning these 2 are going to compete each other just a little bit with different foci, though. Ahau I is on the Ashe, whereas if I saw correctly, YBY1 has a Bel'Veth and some Warwigs and maybe even a Mordekaiser on board?
Okay, it is 100% confirmed. Mortdog is more dogging China this tournament. NA is bound to win. China is getting more doggoed.
Okay, come on. There is 3 Chinese players in this lobby. The chances of them to actually go high here are not that bad, just statistically speaking.
So the challenge here is interesting because he's rolled down all his gold. He's level 6, rolled it down, has hit none of his 3 stars. Laser Core is a nice spike here, but unfortunately, without hitting any of those 3 stars and having ruined his economy, it looks pretty doomed from this spot. And so this is the spot where hopefully you hit, but maybe you're looking at a 6th or 7th.
2 other players are on that same comp. That's going to be a problem. And if you're already down there and you're not empowered by having good items, having the Warwick 2, if that's your carry, you're going to bleed.
I mean, that's why Ahao should have considered maybe transition to Valitech, because he realized that he didn't really find much Ashes and like a Blitzcranks, and it was contested. So sometimes, even if you have a carry augment, you gotta learn to let things go and transition to a new augment. I feel like that's a process that just didn't really go that well for China right here.
Yeah, looking on the other side, up against this Jin 2, which we've seen just do tons of damage here and is unleashing. So really powerful there, and so it's not going to be enough to take down that Jin 2, especially with that cybernetic augment, which has not been a popular augment, but that extra AD on Jin. Jin scales so well with extra AD, and so that's really cool to see here. And unfortunately for Jazlatte, going down into the 8th place spot, going into the carousel.
A player that seems to have stopped that bleeding, at least temporarily, is Jipok, still on those 20 HP, is going to get priority here in the carousel. We can see him hover over to the other side and then picking up that Twisted Fate here. Took him a little bit longer to get there, but sometimes it's all about the journey and not about the goal or something like that.
Now, as a Korean, I can say Jipok will purposely tank damage to 1 HP to get even more underground highs and flex for first place.
Ooh.
Yep.
I'm glad you're confident, but like I said, to me it feels like it'll get him through stage 4. But unfortunately, after that, I think it's going to struggle to cap out a little bit more. So we see level 8 here. And again, this is level 8 with the Tactician's Crown. So that's going to allow him to have 9 units, which can open up some interesting compositions. You could get that 5 Renegade, which we're seeing here. Does have the Infinity Edge if he wants to lock that in, or the Guard Breaker. Guard Breaker, another really good item for Jin here. So a lot of options. This is a pretty good board we're seeing.
Wow, this is a really kept out like a Renegade composition. We have a Force of Natures. We found an early Leona. We have a Jin with Guard Breaker as well too. 2 itemized like a Jin, a Bramble Vest, and Protector Spell for frontline. This composition is capped.
Yeah, we were talking about that Tactician's Crown when he picked it up, and Mort, you were saying, like, yeah, it's nice, but you're going to be down an augment. But I think for this comp in particular, it's just so great because it allows you to go into several trades and deep into them. 4 Ox Force, 5 Renegade. You have your Rift Walkers active. It's just a beautiful concoction of traits.
Yeah, and one silly minor optimization here is he took that Cybernetic augment, which allows him to place the Tactician's Crown on the Fiora for just a little bit extra health and damage as well, making full use of even those spatulas. So again, I like this position here. This is showing where Jin can be strong. Also hitting the Leona early, obviously helping quite a bit. That's allowing him to get those 2 Aegis in, as well as the 5 Renegades. So like you said, this is a really good version of the comp here. And now the nice thing here is I don't think you ever go 9. I think you roll for something like a Jin 3, you get that Viego 2, you try to power up those units, and maybe the Jin 3 is your win condition here.
Okay, right now we're looking at Honglian's board, and this is looking really sad. There's a guy with a bunch of 4-cost U-stars, and there's a guy with a doggy 1-star.
Yeah, and he's on 9 HP. That might be what does him in for. He needs this win more than anything. Can he take down the 3-star frontline? It's looking to come together for him here. However, the other player is weak enough. It says Ahoai. Yeah, for a second I thought it was Kare, but it is Ahoai on the other side, and we're seeing so many players now getting knocked down. On the bottom half of the leaderboard, we have 9 HP twice and 1 HP twice. All of them are on their last life.
I mean, I think it's really funny how it's only stage 5 and half the people are just dead. They're just basically right before like a dying. 1-1, 9-9, 20. Wow.
Yeah, so this is what I was talking about yesterday, right? We saw 2 types of lobbies. There were the high pressure lobbies and there were the like greedy lobbies. And I mentioned with China coming in here with 3 China players, they tend to do those level 6 roll downs. They tend to push the aggression in the lobby. And that's what we're seeing here. 4 players took a lot of damage and are basically almost dead. And what's going to happen here is right around 5-3, 5-4, we may already have our top 4, and then there's going to be this slow 1v1 or 2v2 to try to like figure out who's going to win the game. But that's what happens in these high pressure situations.
All right, let's see what we can do to turn it around. Renekton 3 is going to come on board for Ahawai, but maybe just a little too late this time. Blitzcrank is one away as well, but doesn't seem to want to show up in these shops here. He is getting some upgrades. Gonna slam some items as well. Here's the Blitzcrank, but he sold it off, so not gonna come into play. Still 2 ashes away. Not gonna happen. All items onto the Yasuo 3 to try and make some Hasakis happening. But on the other side is the player that seems to be taunting him with the exact same comp and so much more healthy. You're seeing on both sides, left side should be an elimination for one of these 2 players. It's Kari against Jazz Latte, and Kari seems to be taking so much damage here from the enemy player, getting eliminated, and so will Ahawai as well. 2 players taken out, could be a 3rd one, but will happen. Honglian also coming in, and it comes down to those minus HP.
Yeah, it was really a shame there. He had the 2 belts and the Gargoyle Stoneplate, instead chose to go Sunfire and Zephyr, and I feel like that kind of cost him there in that last round. That might have saved even just a little health, and so ended up doing a ton of damage here. Now, to Bebe's credit though, Jiphok still, like I said, it got him through a stage 4, which I called. It just so happened that everyone else bled out so hard that that's going to convert that into a nice solid top 4.
Oh, it's because everyone else bled out so hard and not because our tactics are fantastic?
It's so funny. The Bebe that I was casting with yesterday, he kept flaming Korea the entire time. I don't know what happened overnight, Bebe, if you had maybe a vision, but it seems to be that you're changed. You're now Team Korea, and they're seeming to listen. Jazz Latte is up against Dobbs. Could be his last one. He has 1 HP and a dream, but Dobbs is looking to change that, and so he will. We have our top 4 locked in, and Jiphok keeps on going.
Okay, this is where we enter the second stage of the game. The people that low rolled or had a very weak composition are now off. Now we get 4 players with decent compositions, and how will they make this their victory? How will they raise their placement from a 4th to a 3rd, 3rd to a 2nd, and 2nd to a 1st? Let's find out.
I'm just pointing it out, baby, and you can hate me for this, but the player with Hold the Line is still here. Flancy is still here. He's looking healthy. He has the Star Guardians in. He's not too far away from finding that Kaisa 3. How are we feeling?
I mean, come on, he had 2 Chinese to help him get this far. Yo.
That's not how it works.
That's how it works, yeah. He absorbed the energy from Hong Lian. Now he's like in God mode.
Yeah, it's interesting. Look at this Kaisa board, still 3 Kaisas off, which is a little tricky, and didn't get that 3rd tank item for the Rel, which is a bit of a struggle, but does have, the Misfortune, and we can kind of see just struggling to take down that Vi, and this is where we saw the power of the Vi, and the Vi did get a Bloodthirster, which we talked about being another really good item. You get that shield, which is high effective health here, and so the question is, can anyone spike out, or does Jiphok just keep going?
Okay, I'm suddenly very confused. Who in the world puts a gold collector on Israel 3-star?
Yeah, I feel like that's one of those things that you do because you still get the execute and maybe can get some extra gold. But overall, I kind of agree with you. It's giving up a lot of multiplicative power, when you can get an AP item here off the board. So definitely a bit of a struggle here. Interesting to take the static Shiv here when you're running mostly Jhin. Maybe just wasn't a better option here. But yeah, like you said, this is definitely looking at the capped boards here. Can we see the Kaisa 3 come online? The Neela 3? Are we starting to see like the Warwick be really powerful with the laser core? If we see a Mordekaiser 2, that could be YY1s.
Oh, so. Mordekaiser 2, my god. Okay, so what are your guesses, guys? Which composition do you think is going to get first here?
Ooh. Looking at this, I would actually lean towards the Mordekaiser 2 and the laser core, being able to have that strong laser core. And Mordekaiser 2 just does a bunch of damage. It's going to be able to take down some of these Jins and Ezreals. So that would be where I would lean, but it is still anyone's game.
I really like Dobbs' composition here, and he just also picked up one of the statics for his Morgana. Now, that Morgana is still Morgana 1, but once she's 2, she's going to do so much. The Shred is going to get applied anyhow. You can see the Jhin in the backline. He is so happy he has access to the enemy backline without needing to step out of his comfort zone, and the Vi is not going to change that. And you can see Dobbs really going there and being currently the leader of the lobby.
Yeah, very sad about Jiphok. I did not expect him to put Gold Collector on Israel, and because of that, he's lacking the damage to get through the enemy front line, and because of that, he's being a punching bag instead of punching everybody else. How's this going
So who's
on?
your prediction? We both gave our prediction. Who's yours?
I mean, it was supposed to be this guy, but they put a gold collector in Israel.
All right. Sore loser, baby. But we'll see what happens next. Chipok is up, and he could get eliminated here. On the other side is the Laser Core Borg with the Mordekaiser too. The Skyscraper is going to come crashing down. Will not hit the Ezreal. Will take out the Misfortune for now. Fiddlesticks comes in and tries to get a little bit of support out with the CC here. Ezreal still alive. Can he do it? The Gold Collector taking some executions, baby. I'll at least give him that. But the Vi is under power. She's trying to tank everything here, but they're gonna come for the Ezreal and take out Chipok in fourth.
Okay. In his defense, I think I understand his strategy. He's trying to get 50 gold for the next game, so he can start at stage 2-1 with 50 gold again, just like this game.
I also like to invest smart.
Yeah, like I said, the Mordekaiser there allowing some extra damage, and then we saw Ascension also. There's just so much threats. The Ascension working really well, giving that Warwick the extra damage, the Laser Cord. So there's just so many threats on that board. But we are seeing Dobbs win streak, so it does feel like it's between these two. Whereas Flancy, to really have a shot, still stuck at level 7 here, needs to get a tank item from the Rel, and needs to get one of these, 3 stars going. But
yeah, I mean, he's one copy away of both of them. Is going to get a little bit of gold here and an anvil. We'll see if that does it for him.
Unfortunately, you were looking something like a Gargoyle or a Bramble here. Redemption kind of feels like the right choice here. Put that on the Rel, give it a little bit of tankiness, block that AoE damage. Instead, goes with the Archangel for hopefully the Misfortune here, but it's going to become a question of, can we get one of these 3 stars? We do hit the Nila, so can we get the Kaisa? And unfortunately, it doesn't look like we're going to be able to get that here.
I feel it's not going to be good to dodge one Mordekaiser's ultimate, because that Mordekaiser does have a chance to one-shot the backline, and you do not want that to happen. Like, even if you have infinite damage, if he gets one-shotted, that could be a problem, right? So we'll see if that's going to be important or not.
He still has 1 life, I think, unless he loses, like, really devastatingly. But I think the board is strong enough to take out a couple of units.
Shot it right. Oh,
that Mordekaiser hurts, but the Kaisa is hopefully going to come in and take a little bit out here, looking to be the case despite the Ascension. I think Flancy is going to survive that one, and he still has a chance to make the Kaisa 3 happen.
So usually this composition is supposed to have a 3-star tank Rel with 3 tank itemizations and a Hextech Gunblade Kaisa to heal the Rel for infinite sustainability. But since this itemization is very random, 2, wow, is that a couple look or something? 2 Archangels and Giant Slayers and Misfortune Nico not looking that good.
I think the thing to note here, though, is that getting a 3rd place with that comp that, again, has not been really a meta comp here, that's a really good spot to be here. And Flancy is one of the people who's at the top of the charts. So walking away with a 3rd, that's a bunch of extra points in day 2. So overall, I look at this as a big win for Flancy.
Actually, it is a win for Flancy, but for China, they got 3rd.
Something we were talking about is Dobbs and his Tactician's Crown. He actually did go to 9, so really going all the way, trying to capitalize on that as he goes up against Flancy. Flancy could get knocked out here. The Kaisa is still alive, but it's not. Kaisa 3 to bullet time, trying to make it happen, but the front line is too beefy to get into that dream. Flancy being knocked out in 3rd here. YBY1 still fighting one of the ghosts, I would assume.
So for Dobbs, Mortdog's play was completely correct. He was supposed to go for Jin 3-star at level 8, stay at level 8 until he 3-star it, but then he looked at an Israel 3-star guy with gold collector saying, oh yeah, I can just beat that. I don't need 4-cost 3-star. I think he's just like committed.
Yeah, I think the challenge here, though, is he is up against this Fiddle 2, Mordekaiser 2, Warwick 2, things like that. He does have the Tactician's Crown here, and the big thing I think is helping is this Leona 2. If you look at these Leona 2 items, you have the Double Protector's Vow, which is giving you a ton of mana, so that Leona starts casting right away at the start of the fight from the backline, giving you that first key laser, and if that can hit the Blitzcrank, which is doing a lot of tanking here, so if we watch, this laser should go on the Blitzcrank.
Mordekaiser is positioned right onto Jin's side. Let's see if that's enough to one-shot. Oh, taken down before it could do anything. Yeah, I think he needs to reposition the Mordekaiser away next time from Jin. Otherwise, the damage will be so high. But wow, looking like Renegade is going to take this one-sidedly.
YBY1 also lost the previous fight, and I would assume it was also to the ghost copy of Dobbs, because I don't think the Flancy board was strong enough. But we are going to get a little bit of a special carousel here. Yeah,
getting the Tome of Traits carousel, I think, is a bit stronger for... Actually, they both have good options, right? If Dobbs is is able to get an Aegis crown, that's going to give him enough extra Aegis that the laser core won't be a big threat. On the other side, you're hoping for a laser core, but looking at what they got, neither was really getting what they were hoping for. So don't really see either person get a big spike from that. It's just going to be a little bit of a boost here. Puts the Brawler emblem on the Mordekaiser here, which I think is okay to help get, essentially since we just saw last combat, struggling to get that kill here. But again, to me, this is going to come down to positioning against this Leona. This Leona is kind of the unsung hero here. We saw last round it just take out that Blitzcrank almost instantly. And so I think you want to watch the start of the fight. What does Leona do? This time it looks like it's just going to be the Riven. Oh, no, on the Mordekaiser.
We are seeing a last-second slam onto the Zephyr, making sure that it hits something. Wasn't really what he was looking for. I would assume the Blitzcrank being lifted up into the air. But look at that Jhin. It is still alive. It is going to taken out by the Fiddlesticks, empowered by the drones. Will not be enough for YBY1 to continue his dream. Dobbs with that Tactician's crown and a little bit of a Frankenstein-y board, making it all the way and taking a first place for Brazil.
Yeah, that was really cool to see. You know, again, we saw that Tactician's crown. We saw that Jhin 2 early. Good use of that cybernetic